Our guest this week is someone who is a very well-known figure around Erskine, a very, very kind-hearted lady who, throughout lockdown, was making masks and leaving them outside her door for people to take. Same at Halloween for the children with the trick-or-treats, and she also runs the Erskine Community Garden. The list is endless. One of the great supporters of the Erskine Veterans charity and someone who became an Erskine Ambassador in 2012. My great pleasure to welcome to Erskine Veterans Radio for our chat this week is Heather Clissett. And Heather, really, you don't really remember a time in your life when Erskine wasn't part of it.
No, Erskine has been there for a very long time. I am of an age when I remember that the garden centre was a garden shed that was just in the main doors or the main gates of Erskine. So in the kind of the top corner of what is now the Calder's Garden Centre car park. That was my earliest memories of Erskine, probably going back to about 7-8 years old. And I'm 48 now, so that's quite a few decades. And going in there with who was my Uncle Duncan. He was a family friend, he was a veteran. He liked to stop in there to pick up tomato plants and potatoes. Seed potatoes, and he would chat away to the veterans that were running the garden centre at that point. And it goes way back decades. I am old.
And this was a time, of course, when Erskine was the hospital, which is now the hotel next door, isn't it? Because the Erskine that we know now, the Erskine home, is obviously a new facility that's been there for a few years now. But how times and how the whole Erskine charity, I imagine, has changed over that time as well.
Yeah, it's kind of strange. I mean, I've noticed that things are coming full circle. Where it used to be originally, where Erskine Hospital would teach or have workshops for veterans. Woodwork was a main one. Also gardening, having chickens, having all sorts of things in the grounds, and then that sort of fell away, and it became something that was more concentrated on looking after the person. I guess they were going with what was, seen as the things that would work for people at those times. But now we're back to having ERMAC, the activities centre, and they're doing a lot of work with art, with woodwork, and things like that. So it's almost come full circle, I think. It's been realised that it's good to actually be looking at a person and thinking, where can we put their skills, or what are you interested in, and then using that for woodworking, even computing science and things like that as well, which ERMAC provide too, which is great. It's been interesting watching the journey of Erskine.
And tell us about your journey then to becoming an Erskine ambassador, because we've talked about your background there. If we fast forward a bit of time, you've obviously still had this draw towards the Erskine Veterans charity. When did you start really getting involved yourself with things?
Probably 2009, 2010. Erskine had always been there, whether it was somewhere to visit, in whatever garden centre, because the garden centres had 3 different kind of lifetimes, and I think I've seen all of them. So my dad was a motorcyclist since he was 15 years old. He gave up his motorcycling when I was born, and he took it up again when my mum died. I helped him find his motorbike, and then we saw something about the Erskine Cavalcade for motorbikes in 2006, which was founded by 4 veterans who had visited Erskine for a tour and decided they wanted to do something. And because they were all bikers, the natural thing was to do something with motorbikes. So this was a ride into Erskine Hospital grounds for people on bikes to go in, donate £5, get a cup of tea, and then go away again. So my dad had been going to that. The organisers, obviously everybody has lives, and by 2009, 2010 they were wanting to get some extra help. So my dad actually volunteered me without telling me. And it was when I got a phone call from an Erskine fundraiser asking me how the planning was going for the bike meet in 2010 that I thought, oh, right, okay, this is something nobody told me about. So that's how that came about. And then from there, I was offered an ambassadorship, which hadn't a clue what that entailed. But that was given to me at the Erskine Military Ball in 2012. So I've been an ambassador for 9 years.
What difference has that made to you being an ambassador? Obviously, it's a great honour, but what differences do you feel that you've been able to make as an ambassador then to Erskine?
I'm pretty good at telling or persuading people to come along to Erskine. I'm not a biker. I know nothing about motorbikes. However, I've always believed in looking at the individual and speaking to them personally about things that I believe in. And one of the things that I believe in is support of Erskine. So it's been easy for me to speak to people. Oh, that's the thunder just arrived here in Erskine.
I wondered if that was thunder. Wow.
Surprise. It's been something that I've enjoyed. I take great pleasure in talking to people about Erskine. Not just about fundraising, but about support. Erskine needs a lot of support. And to have the support of people that gel well with them is a fantastic relationship to see. And bikers, a lot of them are veterans. And they've joined motorcycle clubs because they were looking for that regimentation. And then when you invite them into Erskine, when Harry's is open, the cafe, and when the bike meet's on, they find there's an affinity there. And they find that there's no judgment. Nobody looks at them as if, oh, who are you? Because bikers can have a bit of a reputation. But I have to say, as long as you're giving them tea and cake, they're happy. They're great people. They are so generous, and it's been a learning experience for me. And I have to say, some of my best friends and people that support Erskine are definitely bikers.
Yeah, and I know that the whole bike meet community are incredibly supportive, and you can see that with the things that they share on their own social media feeds and things like that as well. They're always very quick to support everything that Erskine does. And I know the original bike meet from this year was delayed because of everything, but now with restrictions now finally starting to ease in Scotland, and hope that you can all get together and the bike meet can happen again later in the next few months.
Yep, it's happening on the 5th of September this year. Normally it's the last Sunday in May. But this year it didn't happen at all last year, and we thought rather than letting another year go without it, we thought let's just move it to later in the year. And it's been so great that restrictions are being lifted. Obviously, Erskine is still a protected area. We're doing it as a mini kind of bike meet rather than the full-on one. But it's been great. We had a call from the police planning last week just to go through the details for the parade licence. And they're always supportive, and the council's always great with us as well. And really, it's fantastic. The town of Erskine itself, perhaps initially were a little bit reticent about having a load of motorcycles coming to the town, but as they've gotten to know the bikers over the last, I don't know, is it now 15 years or so, they look forward to the bike meet, they look forward to the parade around the town, they look forward to being on the bridges and waving at the bikers, and then coming along to the bike meet itself and, just enjoying the day, which again is showing strength of support for Erskine's residents and staff. It's not just about the residents, it's also about the staff too. Yeah,
and interesting you mentioned too about the local community, of course, because we talk about Erskine, some more distant listeners, people who are less familiar, you talk about Erskine, they don't actually realise that it is a town as well, nearby, and that it is not just the name of the organisation, and it's called that organisation because of its location, of course, but being such a big part of the community, it must be great to have an event like that gets people out to see the spectacle, if you like, and to sort of remind them of what's going on nearby and how important it is.
I mean, Erskine as an area, has existed for a long, long time. It's got a lot of history. It was once owned by Mary Queen of Scots' great-grandfather, the town, it wasn't a town back then. But Erskine Hospital, the first house, which is now Mar Hall, was called Erskine House. And that was gifted to Erskine Hospital, or Princess Louise Scottish Hospital for Limbless Sailors and Soldiers, which was its first name, when you can understand why they shortened that down to Erskine Hospital. So Erskine took its name from the house that was there, and then the town, as it is now, sprung up in the 1970s as an overspill for Glasgow. So, they've both evolved in their different ways. And yeah, sometimes you just need to kind of say, yeah, I live in the town of Erskine, rather than saying I live in Erskine, so people don't think that I live in the veterans' cottages. So it's just trying to make sure there is, that understanding. So that's why sometimes we'll say Erskine Hospital or Erskine Veterans Charity, just to make sure that people understand. Yeah, but even the town of Erskine and the town of Bishopton, which is next door, and in Shannon, they've always been supportive of Erskine, which is fantastic.
The Erskine Message is spread way beyond the boundaries of Erskine, the town and village itself. It's right across Scotland and beyond now that people are getting involved and doing their bit for Erskine. And of course, over in America as well, we've got our supporters there too.
Yes, it's always great to see what people are doing, fundraising. It's always surprising how imaginative people can be. Or how much they want to exert themselves, doing the West Highland Way with the Tough Mudder that used to take place, or the Mud Challenge rather, in, I can't remember, it's up Longtime. People would go for a race through the mud, which was great to watch. Personally didn't take part in it myself. Happy to sponsor people doing that kind of thing. I'm quite happy. My role, as I see it, is to talk a lot about Erskine, encourage people to get involved, and to take part in things, whether they organise them themselves or whether they take part in an organised event. The sincerity that comes from Erskine when somebody is supporting them is, it's matchless. They're so genuinely pleased to have people supporting them, and they care about their supporters, which is just such a lovely thing for them.
You've been an Erskine ambassador now for nearly a decade, and of course you've been involved longer than that with the charity, as I mentioned. What's the question you get asked most in your role being an ambassador for Erskine?
If it's the bike meet, one of the biggest questions, and this is an ongoing joke now for everybody, is why do you keep changing the date? I need to explain this as in, it's always the last Sunday in May, but the dates of things do move. So the Sunday in May, I don't know what it was this year, but it could be the 30th, could be the 29th, could be the 28th. There are some people who still don't quite understand that although we say the last Sunday in May, that might be a different numerical date, and it's just such a running joke now. And there are those within our community in Erskine, the town of, who like to make a bit of a joke about that, and it's all in such great humour. A question is why should we support Erskine? Why should we get involved? And my reasoning is because it's not just a money support that Erskine looks for. It's you as a person coming along and having some kind of relationship, or building a relationship with the veterans, the residents and the staff. And that's something that they covet as much as, if not more than, money, because these are individuals who have gone through experiences that some of us can't even imagine. And, it's just so nice to see when somebody who's not been at Erskine before meets a resident. Some of the residents are very cheeky, and are not slow in banter. And when that's established and they start having a great conversation with somebody they've not met before, and that person goes, you know what, I actually like this person and I want to support them, and they feel the genuinity of the staff it's not just a job to the staff, it's a vocation, and they care and they treat those residents as family, and they are like, you know, lions and lionesses protecting their pack. And that is something, unless you've been there, you don't know what it's like. And that's why I would always encourage a person to come to an event at Erskine Hospital, experience that, and I'm quite sure you will come away saying, okay, I'm buying into this, and I'm going to support these people, and I'm going to stand here for them.
Good stuff. And, well, let's have a look at the events that are coming up over the coming months then that you can get excited about now. Of course, restrictions easing, which is a great help to be able to get these things on. We mentioned the bike meet coming soon, but there are other things going on as well, aren't there, Heather, that people can join in with?
Yeah, for somebody who's not actually a motorcyclist, a lot of those are motorcycle related. This Friday we have a chippy run to Largs. We will be leaving from a car park in the town of Erskine and heading down to Largs to have fish and chips, or you know, there might be some people want to have ice cream. I don't like ice cream, they can have mine. But you know, some of them have said this is more a kind of a keeping a rapport there, but people want to donate, and that's fine. That's something we want to establish as a regular event. There will be obviously the bike meet. We are also going to be doing the poker run again, the Erskine poker run, which is something that was suggested by the Brothers in Arms Motorcycle Club. They are a veterans only motorcycle club in Scotland who we have a really good link with. So the poker run is just basically, it's a tour around some parts of Scotland, pick up cards. The person that gets the highest hand gets a prize. The person that gets the lowest hand gets a wooden spoon. And if people dress up, they get the IFTY Fashion Sense Award as well. So we try and make it fun. There will also be another couple of things. There'll be a Halloween woodland walk at the Erskine Community Garden in October. We're hoping to do a Christmas event as well. And yeah, so hopefully that will take us towards the end of the year, and then we'll start planning the bike meet for next year.
Fantastic. Well, thanks for talking to us, Heather. It's been great hearing about your history with Erskine, all the way from when the garden centre was a shed. So that's the big thing. And good luck with the bike meet and everything else over the coming weeks as well. And hopefully we're in for a better time in this second half of the year than perhaps the first and in fact the whole of last year. So it's got to be a good thing.
Yep, absolutely. Yes, looking forward to the last few months of this year.
And finally, before we go, is there a song that we can play for you, Heather? Because we'll let you play us out. We'll leave it over to you.
Yep. The song that I chose was is going to be a bit of a shock to some people. Jennifer Campbell of the Erskine fundraising, because I've always said I don't like country music. However, it's a song by Shania Twain, called "You're Still the One." And the reason I chose it is it's for my husband Daniel. I would not be able to achieve half of what I do if it wasn't for Daniel, who's with me, usually kind of calming me down, saying, okay, it's fine, it's all right, and just making sure that, you know, I'm okay. But he's been there. He's been there since I started working on things for Erskine when I became an ambassador, and it's really for him, and also a bit for Jennifer as well, because she's been trying to convert me to country music, and yeah, this is one that I can tolerate.
Well, it's a good one. And I know that Shania Twain enjoys a trip to Glasgow as well whenever she's on tour. She, I remember
she should come to Erskine.
Well, hey, you can always ask. I'm sure she might be interested. I know that she went to some chicken restaurant, I seem to remember, when last time she came in Glasgow. Some places you wouldn't expect to see Shania Twain, but it happened. Good stuff. Well, hopefully your education of country music continues slowly but surely. And
thank you. It's very slow.
And thanks for joining us as well, and the best of luck with everything for the rest of the year.
Thank you so much, and it was great to talk to you after